Welcome back, Sarah.
Thanks, Linnea. Happy to be here.
It's so great to have you here. And it's been a while since we filmed the previous episodes, but I've been editing them and I love them. And I hope everyone who's watched them love them as well. And so this is a series about free stuff. And a lot of questions I get around free stuff is not necessarily about a specific free tool. It's more around like, how do you find them and sort of vet them, right? How do you know if they're good or not, if they're safe or not? And how do you find the time to even like look for stuff and get into it and try stuff? Because a lot of people, I feel like they just want to be told what to get, and they're sort of searching for free tools or good tools in the first place. Maybe makes people stay with the paid tools that they know because they don't feel that they have the time or energy or knowledge to find a free tool. So,
Absolutely. Yep.
So what would you say, like, how your number one way to find free tools?
So my number one way to find free tools is Google. I love Googling. And I don't mean that synonymously with using any search engine. I do prefer to use Google. And so I will Google free tools for video editing, free tools for authoring e-learning. And I do this about once a month. And I do it about once a month because new products are coming out all the time.
Yeah.
That's one way that I do it. As far as finding time to do it, sometimes I'll do it, when I would be scrolling through Facebook or LinkedIn. Let me see what's out there, right? Sometimes I Google when I have a need for a project. So let's say I have a new project coming up and I have to make a new video. Okay, well, I use Camtasia typically, but I want to see what else is out there for that. Is there another new option that I can continue to make my learning materials following and updating with new trends in technology? And is that technology good? So that's the other thing about Google that I really like, is that oftentimes it comes with a lot of reviews. There are lots of great review websites for technology. One of them is called G2, and it has excellent comparisons. It writes out a description of the tool itself. It has pros and cons, and it actually puts it into a chart compared to similar tools. So it gives
I'm going to link that for you guys.
It's an awesome site, especially if you're talking like digital adoption platforms or anything like that. It's really, really a great place to start and to get a list and start narrowing down. The other place that I really look at is LinkedIn. A lot of times new products are being advertised within different communities on LinkedIn or just in the general feeds. I'm connected with quite a few product managers, and ed tech companies and whatnot. And a lot of times they'll market their new products. And I look for when they're offering free demos and I check them out. Conferences are a great place. Would love to hear your experience with it too.
Yeah, no, I absolutely Google as well, tools. And I think the key to not getting frustrated is knowing what kind of tool you're looking for, so you can be specific. Like, are you looking for an authoring tool? Are you looking for a video editor? Are you looking for free audio? Like, you need to know. If you just like free L&D stuff, like, that is not going to get you anywhere.
It's a skill, it would have to be very specific with it. And the nice thing about Google too is that it has the video option. So, it says web and then images and videos. Check out the video demos on YouTube. Oftentimes it'll walk you through, so you don't even have to test the tool before seeing the tool.
Yeah. And I mean, I also rely on my network a lot, not just on LinkedIn, but other networks I'm in as well, to sort of inform me of new tools that they have found, and I inform them of tools I have found. And they're sort of like, if you're in a community, like a living healthy community, right? then, you know, you can go like, oh, I saw this new tool exists. Does anyone try it? I tried it already. And they can tell you or not, or they're like, no, do you want to show us? Like, can you try it and tell us what you like? And sometimes it's a collaborative tool. So you're like, can anyone try this with me? And yeah, so that, and I mean, I don't just make YouTube, I watch a lot of YouTube. And so I follow people who also like tech tools, and not necessarily just for L&D. So for video, for example, since I make a lot of video, I follow channels that are about making video and about cameras and about audio editing and recording and things like that. And so that's where I get a lot of my input when it comes to video tools coming out. And then for like
Absolutely.
presentations and stuff, I follow channels who mainly focus on telling me, you know, everything from new presentation software to, you know, new features in PowerPoint that I haven't heard of yet, and so on. So having them in my feed just sort of keeps me a little up to date. But
I love that you mentioned that you look at your tools updates, because I think that is something sometimes we forget about, is that, oh, we have the tool, we've been using it this way for so long. And then when a new feature comes out, we're like, oh, we'll look at it later. We'll look at it later. We'll look at it later. Right. And then later never comes, and we still use the tool in the same way. So I think that's so wise to look at new tutorials and updates for programs that you already have installed or that you're already using currently. And maybe just set aside an hour out of your, like every 2 weeks or once a month, where you pick one of the tools that you're already working in and say, I'm going to spend this hour learning about some of the updates and seeing where I can apply that in my work. Because if you schedule the time,
taking the time to update the software, because not everything updates automatically.
Yes.
So just knowing that you need to like download a new version, especially if you have a free tool that's open source, it might not tell you that it needs updating. You might need to figure that out anyway. So just checking in from time to time on like the website and just like, do I have the latest version of this? But I also feel like sometimes I need to revisit tools that I may have overlooked or that weren't as good a year ago, because these tools keep changing. So you can't just say like, okay, well, I found this tool a year ago, I didn't really like it. Okay, well, it's been a year. Like, what does it look like now?
Especially for SaaS solutions. So anything that's delivered through an online platform, a huge difference between desktop applications and online SaaS solutions is that updates can be rolled out as often as every 2 weeks. And so, like you were saying, a year ago on from a provider that's online to now could be worlds different. So I love that suggestion. Go back and, you know, see what new features and how it's really come along.
And also you might have a free tool that you feel good with, but that tool might not have developed for a while. Like it's still the same as it was 2 years ago when you started using it. And that tells me that there's probably something better out there by now. Because most, like if it's a good tool, even if it's open source or a freemium, it will have updates. Absolutely. And if it doesn't have updates, that means that someone stopped developing it for some reason. And someone else has probably developed something similar that's come along further. But then, I mean, finding the time to do it, I feel like now that I have my own company, it's easier for me to say, like, part of what I do as a consultant is to know what's going on, right? So it's easier for me to justify spending time almost every week, if not at least a couple times a month, just staying up to date, both with paid tools and free tools, just knowing what's out there. But if you are full-time employed somewhere, I think it might be harder to find the time if nobody sees the need. Like if you're not in a situation where you need something specific, you just want to know what's out there and maybe make stuff better, but you don't know yet what that might mean. I think it's harder. And I mean, I think this is really hard because I really believe in like work-life balance. And I don't think you should have to spend too much of your private time doing work-related things. And so
Absolutely.
I would say, like, if you think it's good for your career development or personal development, then yes, maybe spend some of your private time on it. But if it's for your company's benefit, it should be done on that time.
Well, and I think too, that boils a little bit down to what type of company that you work for. I feel very fortunate that the company that I work for is very much so in support of professional development and making sure we're staying on trend. They'll bring in presenters for different workshops. They encourage us to attend different workshops outside of our company. But I do realize not all companies are like that. What I would say to that is we're in learning and development, right?
Yeah.
And if we want to continue to make sure that our materials and what we create is effective, it is relatable, it is current, we need to continually learn ourselves.
Yeah.
And to your point, that's part of our jobs. So I do think it's important, like you were saying, to bake in that time, even when it feels like we have no time.
Yeah.
Put a calendar block on your calendar that you spend, an hour or so a week learning about something new. Make sure that you go to at least 1 to 2 conferences a year, and that a couple of the webinars that you attend are related to products, new things coming out. But they have wonderful presentations of new and upcoming learning and development tools and technologies. They might not all be free, but if we see what something can be done, there's a good chance a free tool on that is up and coming, like AR or VR. That used to be all paid and very difficult to obtain. Now we're seeing more of those items come on the market. So if we know what's up and coming, we know we can Google that over the coming months, and we're likely to find a free tool.
Yeah. And I think, that's a good point, because usually if there is a paid tool that can do it, sooner or later, there will be a free tool for that, or a free version of that. At least they can do some of that. So if you see a paid tool and you're like, oh God, I wish we could do that, like, give it some time and then Google it, because now you know what you're looking for, right? So it's easier to search for it and see what you can find, or find a tool that can do the same thing, even though it's not its primary component. Because that's also a thing.
We got to be careful, because I don't know about you, but I've lost a few good laptops over the years from my ambitious downloading of free tools.
I've actually never lost a computer, but I've had to have some help with some cleaning up. So yes, I mean, downloading is always like risky, and you should absolutely like look into that. And an easy way to do it is just Googling the tool and then like virus, or the tool and then like problems or something like that, and just see what comes up.
So I'm curious how you kind of remember, because I know you see so many tools. I know we all see so many tools in this business, and sometimes we forget about it, we hear about it, we're like, oh yeah, that tool, right?
Yeah.
So do you keep a list of all the tools that you've used, or do you do like bookmarks?
I'm a Microsoft OneNote junkie, and so I have lists for everything. And so every time I hear of a free tool, even if I don't have time to try it, I always write it down, and like free tools I've heard of and just what it's supposed to do, just like real quick. And then I might not revisit that for 3 months if I don't have time, but I just want to keep it there in case of. And then the tools that I try, I usually like to categorize, just like these are tools I like, and under like what they're for. So video editing tools that are free, and video editing tools that are paid, and like if I like them or not. I have a list of like free stock websites, and those are
Like stock images and
Yeah, stock
stuff?
images, stock music, stock video. And I kind of, that they are divided into the categories. So like images, videos, audio, but then also with or without attribution.
Right. Because
So
that's
I always
important.
know when I'm going, like looking for something, like, do I have attribution space to begin with here? Or is this like going to be a problem?
And also the confidential proprietary nature of the tool as well. So
Yeah.
for example, if you're building something in Canva with confidential proprietary information, and if that's published for all to see, that could be a big problem,
Yeah.
for what we do. So it's always important to think about the attribution. It's always important to think about what type of information would be widely available if you use this tool. So
Yeah. And so before we like wrap this up, I think one thing we need to talk about is, how do you know if it's worth it? Like the time you spend to find a free tool, the time you spend to learn a free tool, compared to just keeping up with the tool you have and pay for, or paying for a tool, like an official tool. Like, how do you know when it's worth it and when it's not?
So for me, how I kind of go about that, when I do my research, I look at the features. If the features are very comparable to what I'm already using, and if the price is not substantially less, I take all that into consideration. So I might not learn that tool if what I have is comparable and it's not really sweat off my back to pay for it, or for my company to pay for it.
Yeah.
Because you also have to think about learning curve. Every new tool is going to have a bit of a learning curve to it because of a different user interface. So I try and take all that into account. I look at what features it has. Is there something new that would help me in what I'm trying to do? Or is it something that, like you said, some things become stagnant over time, and I'm looking for the next thing that's like that but continues to grow. I think about that. I also think about, what can I use this in my work for? So if it's something like a really great VR tool, I don't use that a lot in what I do. So I might just kind of tuck it away for later if that ever comes up, but I'm not going to invest my time and energy in it at the current moment in time. Now, if it's something that's trending in industry, I want to know about that, because 10 to 1, my company might stop paying for what we're currently using to move to that, number one. Number two, if that's where the industry is going, and heaven forbid I should lose my job, or I need to look for different employment or whatnot, I'll probably need to know that tool in order to secure my next position. So I always want to stay on trend, but you always kind of want to weigh your pros and cons, in my opinion, as far as, is this tool worth learning right now? Is this something I want to learn later? And to your point, Linnea, make a list, start categorizing. This is what I need to learn now because it's trending, or it has a feature I need. This is what I want to learn because X, Y, and Z, right? This is what would be nice, but I don't have time, but I'm going to keep it on my radar.
Yeah, I think so too. And then also, I mean, you have to look at your current situation. So, and your organization. So some organizations, you have time, but you can't buy anything. Like that's just the way your company works. Like it's not that you have to do things at a certain pace. Maybe there is time for you to look at this and learn this tool. And even if we summarized it in the end, maybe it would have been cheaper to buy the tool. Your company wouldn't have, right? So
vetting,
it might be, so it might have been worth the time anyway because you have it. Whereas in other situations, you're in a situation where you don't have a lot of time, you're under a lot of stress, and there is an option to pay for stuff if you just can convince people that you need it. And so that in those situations, maybe it's better to get a free trial of the paid tool to show what it can do, and then ask to have it paid for. So I think we're going to wrap this up. Do you have anything else to say for people who want to learn how to find free tools? I mean, I share a lot of free tools. Can they find you sharing free tools somewhere they can follow you?
Oh yeah, for sure. So we have a document that was created in a webinar that I did with Welcome into the Awesome. Lenny and I were both part of that wonderful conference. And we did a crowdsourcing document, and I will give that link to you, Linnea, so we can share that in the comments
Find
as
it
well.
in the description.
In the description, feel free
And you
to
can
add to
to
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's editable. It's great. So
yeah.
that's a great place to look. I think as far as parting advice, there's so much out there and that can be overwhelming. So if you find yourself being overwhelmed with the amount of free tools, or to the point where you're shutting down and not learning anything, always push yourself to learn a little bit of something, even if it's not to the point of full competency, even if it's just to dabble and to see what it's about. And then you can gauge from there if you want to move forward or not. You don't have to learn every tool under the sun. Please don't put that pressure on yourself, because I know my brain would explode with all that.
No, I think it's more about, you know, and I love what you said earlier about watching videos. So instead of downloading and trying the tools, like, look if there's someone who's already done that and can just give you a quick overview, which is one of the things I try to do in my videos. So I'm like, look at this tool. This is what you can do. These are the pros and cons that I see. And it's less than 20 minutes of your time. And then from there, you know, you can decide if you want to move on and try that. And also save your, you know, computer from whatever virus might come with that. So that's also like a good idea. And yeah, remember, it needs to be useful for you. Just because it's free doesn't mean you need it. It doesn't mean it's going to make your training better or your content better. So
same thing with trending, right? Just because it's trending doesn't mean that it's going to be the next latest and greatest thing. So
exactly, yeah. So knowing what's out there and learning about them, you don't have to learn about all of them, but it's good to know that they exist and kind of what they do. So if someone asks, you can go like, yeah, I've heard of that. Didn't seem super at the time. I can look into it if you want, but just being aware, I think, is good.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up, Sarah. Thank you so much for being here, as usual. Sarah's contact information will be in the description with all the other links. And there will also be links to all of the tools that we have mentioned during this video, so you don't have to go looking for them. And yeah, just tell us in the comments about your free tools, your favorite free tools. And if you think I should bring Sarah back for more videos, let us know. Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Lydia. Bye, everyone.